We got off a boat. We got off a boat.
It's been 1 year. So much has changed.
Have you seen there was an edit when the boat chapter came out? I think it was a Korean scan, and someone mistranslated it to Gut saying, "Well, that was quick."
That's
it was
pretty
like
great.
Yeah, it was a mistranslation, but everyone thought it was real.
Before we go on, one of my, so, I guess to give some background, we were talking today because we thought we were going to do Chapter 4 instead of Chapter 3, and when I went to go check the video for the last chapter we did, the first comment, or the top comment I saw was from you, and it says, "In before hiatus," and that was a year ago.
I am a prophet, and I do take a lot of hiatuses on this channel, after, Daddy Miura himself.
I mean, you gotta get it. I mean, he has to inspire you for it. If you're gonna be a Berserk channel, you gotta be like Miura, and also have hiatuses. I'm not trying to throw shade. I like this guy's videos, but he doesn't go by as a god hand anymore. But he did it as well, and he's a cool dude, so we have to follow after him.
Yeah, everyone doing. It's because like my last video I like a lot. I did it on the latest chapter was Skull Knight and his origins, but like. I felt like I was kind of pressured to make that, and I still have turned out pretty well, but I made quite a few more mistakes than I would usually. And then it was like, I wish I kind of spent more time on that one. But nonetheless, we're back with Gettin Gutsy. People have actually wanted this to come back. I get a few comments about it. And then I'm like Linkara, or the great Linkara will be.
We need a.
Will be out when it is out.
We need a gif of you running doing that pose now. I'm not gonna ask you to splice that.
There's like in the Berserk movie, there's a part where Guts is running at the end, and I want to Photoshop. I want to edit Guts running to that Linkara background.
That'd be pretty great. But
right, so for all of you who we haven't done this in a while. So for all of you who don't know, this is Gettin Gutsy, a Berserk podcast, not the first, but probably the worst, where me, who's read Berserk a billion times, and Lance, who's never read Berserk in its full, you've seen the anime, so you've seen all of the Golden Age stuff in 1997 anime. I wouldn't subject you to 2016 or 2017.
Yet.
And I think you've seen the movies, which I don't like very much, but that's a discussion for another time. And it was meant to be each week, each month, but now it's each whenever.
Each year.
Each year. So if there's 360 something chapters currently, I don't remember off the top of my head, we'll get there in about 300 and something years. So
we're gonna be old men sitting on the porch in the reclining chairs, probably a Cracker Barrel, sitting there talking about Berserk at age 400 probably.
And Robo Miura still hasn't finished the series.
I guess before we go on, I wanted to bring up this. So, I've heard Philip mention multiple times how he's read Berserk and bought it physically. You said you have the deluxe editions, so I figured I used to buy manga a lot, you know. I don't read it digitally on the internet like a deviant, so I should buy them physically. That's a lie, I do read them like a deviant online. Go read Chainsaw Man. But... So I ended up buying volumes 1 through 3 physically, and I have forgotten how much I enjoy reading manga physically. It is so nice.
It's such a better experience,
yes,
compared to anything else.
Like, I know people probably jump on me, but when I was younger, I used to buy Naruto physically. It would come out at Walmart, and I'd go buy a volume like each month. It was like a little tradition I did, and I loved doing that. So like, I'm trying to do that with Berserk now. I've already told you, but I guess for the viewing audience, who probably doesn't care. I thought I'm going to try and buy a volume monthly, and it's really nice. I have forgotten how much I like reading manga, like physically. It's so much nicer than reading it online.
Yeah, also, especially if you can ever get the deluxe editions, I'd recommend that, because they're in A4 and hardback, and seeing Berserk pages in A4, it's a lot nicer. Mm-hmm. Especially when you get to those double page spreads.
That is the only thing I will say. I do, and this is not like on Berserk's fault or anything like that. seeing double page spreads in physically after seeing it on like reading it online, it's kind of different for the first time in a long time. I have to get used to that again, but it is very nice. But yeah.
So let's get started with the chapter then. So I don't know if you know this, but the way Berserk's structured is structured in such a weird way. So chapters aren't called chapters, they're called episodes. Mm-hmm. So technically this is episode 3. Chapters are kind of like collection of episodes which make up a mini arc. So have you heard of Lost Children in Berserk? Does that ring a bell for you? So Lost Children isn't an arc, it's a chapter, so it's called the Lost Children chapter, but it consists of like several episodes. I don't like talking about like that because it gets confusing. I know some diehard Berserk fans get annoyed when you call episodes chapters, but I don't care. Didn't ask. So we're just going to call this chapter 3, which kind of starts the Guardians of Desire mini arc, which I think is what people associate with the Black Swordsman kind of guts battle with a count. It's probably the biggest meat and the most interesting part about the Black Swordsman arc. Because the previous 2 chapters we read were kind of just set up with his world and what kind of Guts is like as a character and this Black Swordsman persona. It didn't really have like a thorough storyline, they were kind of like short stories in their own right.
I would agree on that. I definitely think this is... No, I enjoyed chapter 1 and 2, especially rereading them physically. I've read 3 twice now, but... I do think so far this is probably the most interesting chapter, and we mentioned this before we started recording, but it's more of a setup one, but it's still, I feel like this is when you're starting to jump into like the meat of the series, which I know really the meat's more when you get to probably Golden Age, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I'm one of those purists where, because I know a lot of people started with Berserk anime, but I think nowadays in modern times, I think it kind of does the series not a disservice. That sounded really elitist. I just think it's better. It's a better experience to experience Black Swordsman before Golden Age, even if Golden Age takes place chronologically before, because I think it's just a lot more interesting pacing wise to see how this man turned out the way he did. But yeah, let's begin. So this first page is with this little priest man. I can't remember his name. We'll get to that in a bit. Who is executing this poor young woman for being a heretic. Being a heretic is like a big thing in Berserk. Lance, when you get to the conviction arc, that's basically a running theme through that arc, is the execution of heretics. What did you think of this first page, and kind of like, because we got to this first page and then this double page spread of this poor young lady getting her head lopped off with a title drop.
I think the art for this chapter is really good, I will say. Well, every Berserk chapter I've read, the art's been good, but I really think chapter 3, the opening bits are really good, really well drawn. It's also a bit more of a... I don't know how I'm trying to say this, but I kind of like in any kind of series when they start out with something not related to the main character, and then you see how the main character gets involved, because you're just like, this is a really random start, and then you're like, oh, okay, there's Guts, or whatever, and I do like that. It also really, I guess... I'm kind of not spoiled, but spoiled for this chapter, I guess. We'll talk about it later. How the main villain of this arc is really big into executing people, so it's a good way, I guess, to get the chapter started.
Yeah, with your comment about you like seeing how different characters and how Guts plays into it, that's something I like about Berserk in general. It's not a story where the world revolves around Guts. The world still continues without Guts. There'll be parts in Berserk where, like the Griffith chapters. Mm. But even without the Griffith chapters, there'll be parts in the Conviction arc, for example, where you just cut to people in Albion, which, without spoiling, is this camp for refugees, and you see how they live their lives and how they're being affected by this plague. And then seeing Guts come into the fray, it just gives a lot more flavour to the world, just knowing that there's a whole universe which exists outside of Guts and his little bubble. And then seeing how Guts interacts with all of that is super cool. But yeah, what you said about VR, I really like it. I've said this in my videos quite a lot, but I really like how Miura kind of displays eyes in his artwork, like this, that panel of a woman crying, I think is really effective.
Yeah.
Of like showing her pain and struggle.
There's another panel, well, in this chapter, we'll get to here in a little bit, about the eyes thing that I think really kind of sells that, so...
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So his name's Dahl. I always forget his name. I always remember the Count's pseudo apostle is called Zondark because I think he's quite memorable. But I always forget this guy's name. Yeah, so Dahl's kind of the Count's second in command, and you know he's starting to have doubts. He's saying like, why are we executing all these people? You know, this is the 5th one this month, and what do you think of the Count's design of this panel of him kind of sitting on his throne?
I really like it, and I think this might be kind of off topic, but it also applies. I like how he's not just like a generic, like, big, strong-looking dude. Because, like, I'm not trying to think how I'm wanting to word this. I don't want to say it's, like, tropey, but I like that he's just kind of like a fat kind of ruler. Because I think, this is just me, I think that's more intimidating than, like, just a big, strong guy. And that might sound weird, but I'm trying to give the point I'm trying to get across here without sounding stupid. But I think that's like when you do that in a series, they typically is the more like evil type of character. And I guess the answer I'm looking for is like, let's take One Piece for example. When you take Orochi, I guess from Current Wano, he seems like more of a bad person than Kaido. I guess I'm trying to get it. I don't know if that really is helping the point I'm trying to come across here. Probably
no, I think is it that when you see someone with physical strength and kind of like their overbearing like physical prowess and strength, that's what they've got going for them. So when you see that, you see they're in that position of power because of how physically intimidating they are. But when you see someone who's not like that, it's for sure for another reason. Usually, like it's for political gain or how much money they have or how manipulative they can be. When you see someone who'd usually be in any other eye a weak loser in that kind of position of power, you have to think of like what kind of fucked up things do they have to do to get that way. Yeah. Because they are not physically capable of getting to that point usually.
Yeah. And the account, like, we really won't get to see it more till, spoilers, the next chapter, but he's a really fucked up guy. So,
yeah.
I do,
like all apostles.
Like, I do like the Count as a villain, so far what I have seen of him, so he is an intimidating guy, and he's definitely the most interesting villain, I think, so far, from chapters 1 through 3. I know there's not a lot. You really have Snake Man and the skeletons from chapter 2, and that's really also evil spirits, really, but still, I do like the Count.
One thing about the Count, which I noticed this in one of my rereads not too long ago, and I haven't been able to get out of my head since. In this panel, it looks like he's wearing ballet shoes.
He kind of does, now that you say that. Yeah.
So I'm just imagining the Count doing some ballet.
That's how he's going to fight Guts, I'm hoping. Yeah. He just does some ballet.
Slug ballet. I remember, like, in the Berserk Muso game, you fight the Count, and for some reason he doesn't have his design. He's just like a blurred out, like, generic, like, human-looking man in that game. They don't bother making, like, his human model. It's really weird. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Do you think maybe he was... Well, even if he was based on somebody, they could still do that, so that would
honestly,
work.
It's probably they couldn't be bothered, probably budget. They probably couldn't make another model.
That probably is true, because I do know Muso games, and I'm not trying to shit-talk Berserk, but, like, Muso games especially don't get a huge budget, and they tend to rush things a lot. I played a lot of Dynasty Warriors back in the day, and they do like rushing things a lot, so...
Yeah. I like Muso games a lot, but the Berserk one was alright, but not a great one.
Yeah.
I like kind of the kind of regal and kind of like designs the Count has on his throne and the flag behind him. It kind of it's just kind of like better world building, which I don't think Miura is really good at. I think towns in Berserk usually exist just to exist. I said earlier about, like, I think Miura's really good at his character building, so you see characters and what they're doing, but usually, like, you never really hear about any towns apart unless Guts is going to them. Like, the only reason Guts goes to Albion is because there's someone there that he wants to meet. But, like, in another series, you might have, like, a world map. There's not a Berserk world map which exists to my knowledge, and that's something I'd really want Miura to flesh out in the future. Because these towns only exist for a destination for Guts to get to, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I do like stuff like this where the throne isn't just generic, it has some like nice designs on there which kind of help flesh out kind of this kingdom or this town they're in without kind of giving too much away. Just
a quick question, I'm curious talking about that. I know back in the day, I know Naruto did this. I'm pretty sure One Piece does it too. I'm assuming Berserk does this. Do they do the encyclopedia kind of books as well for Berserk?
Yes, but it's terrible. It's terrible. I've always wanted to do a video on the guidebook because it's notoriously bad. It reads like a joke, honestly. I'll have to show it to you, like, kind of offline or after this podcast, because it's kind of ridiculous of how stupid that guidebook is. But yeah, so the Count here, you know, he's saying, you know, fuck them kids, fuck them heretics. You know, the peaceful existence, bloody blah. I love this next. I say this in all my videos and I say this in all my podcasts, but I love the motion of this page. You see the head rolling, you see Guts pick it up, and kind of staring at it, and I love Guts' shadowed out face here, looking at the head. I'm not sure what you thought of this whole kind of page spread here.
Yeah, this little bit that we're about to see, like this, and I think the next 2 pages is probably my favorite part of the chapter, ironically, because I like when he does, and I might skip ahead a little bit on this, if you don't mind, but
yeah, no worries.
I like when he picks the head up and his face is shadowed out, and he's sitting there staring at it, and it's just like a blank stare. He doesn't talk or anything, and then he throws it at the Count. And I really like that bit, because it's Guts being like, he doesn't really care, he's not afraid of this guy, and I think him not saying anything is really what kind of sold it, because, like, to him, this is just whatever, you know, he's probably seen this happen a million times, it doesn't bother him, but what makes it awesome is when he throws it at the Count, he writes the, what's the word I'm looking for here? The brand symbol on it.
Yeah, the brand of sacrifice, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. And before he does that, as soon as he throws it at the Count, he, like, you could see where his own brand is starting to bleed, and he just wipes it on his neck. And he's like, I'm coming for you later. And I really like that a lot.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about. It's kind of Guts' declaration of war, in a way. He's declaring war. He's already declared war on apostles, and he's declaring war on the Count. You're out of the Golden Age. You've seen the movies, so this isn't going too much into spoilers. But at the end of the Golden Age, when the eclipse happens, I love the juxtaposition that Miura incorporates between this scene and later on when we see it in the Golden Age, and that's why I think it's such a benefit to read Black Swordsman's first, because you know, Guts throws the head and he doesn't really care, and then he does that move where his brand's bleeding, and he does like the slit, I'm gonna cut your head off motion.
Yeah.
It's something of like, not cockiness, but it's like, I'm coming for you, I'm gonna get you, this is war. We compare that to in the Golden Age where Guts first declares war on all apostles. Skull Knight throws him his sword and he's just scared, he's sweating, he's like crazy, and he's basically like screaming to them like, I will destroy every last one of you. And there's a panel where he like swipes down with Skull Knight's sword on the spirits and they all kind of like go out, and you can see the terror on his face, and it's just great character building like that. Like, we see Guts here, and as you said, he doesn't give a shit. He's scared inside, but he's showing like an air of, you know, I've done this so many times, I'm gonna kill all of you, you've got to go. Like, I'm revenge fueled, compared to the Golden Age where he was terrified when he first declared war. So it's kind of like a redo of his declaration of war, kind of like saying to himself deep inside, I hate these creatures so much, I no longer fear them, even though we know he does.
Yeah.
It's just such a great scene.
You said,
again, it's the most... sorry, what were you going to say?
You said that this is his declaration of war. Do you think he's going to have, you know, meet the Count, be like, sit down, Count, that's a nice seat?
Yeah, sit down, Count.
I've had that in my mind for the past, like, 2 minutes since you said that.
He has one eye here, so...
That is true.
But the Count was a long-time friend, like Liner.
I also do like... when that guard's like, you know, hand over the head, and Gus just punches him in the mouth and knocks his teeth out. It's pretty good. I think this is probably the most, like, out of the chapters I've read so far, it's the most, like, Chad-like Guts has been so far.
Yeah.
He just doesn't... I mean, like you said, he is afraid inside, but, like, he's very... I don't want to say cocky, because he's not cocky, but he knows like how strong he is. He's not afraid of just some random mook, you know, which I do like.
No, like and when Guts does something, it's within reason.
Yeah.
Which I do like. He's always calculated. He doesn't pick fights for no reason. He's not that kind of, not generic, but you know, you kind of get these war wage kind of like edgy MCs, which I don't like using that term, but just to describe him, where I'm gonna start a fight because I want to. Everything, like in the first chapter, the only reason Guts started a fight with those goons in the bar was because he wanted to send a message to the Snake Count, or the Snake Lord, where he was like, or the Snake Apostle, always forget his name, where he's like, tell this to your boss in Coca Castle that I'm coming for him.
Yeah.
And even when he got caught on purpose. Then, and even here now, it's so he can kind of anger the Count. It's very calculated, and I like that about Guts here.
Well, it's even
and I also like that shit-eating grin he does when he swipes his neck.
Well, it's even like if you compare it to like, I don't want to say all shonen do this, but it's kind of a shonen trend. If the main character in particular is kind of dumb, he will just kind of rush into things and, you know, do what you want to do now, think later type of idea. Guts doesn't do that, and I mean I've read up to chapter 4, and without spoiling anything, you see that more. I guess that's what I'll say. So
yeah, you do. Yeah, there's one particular scene where he has the opportunity to do something, he chooses not to do it because it's basically suicide.
Yeah, and I like
and he's
that.
like, I'm not that stupid. Yeah,
it's more as realistic as Berserk can get. It's the more realistic thing to do. So, but I do really like, I brought up earlier, the panel where the Count like catches the head and it has the brand of sacrifice on the forehead. It is the declaration of war, basically. And I really like that a lot. It's pretty Chad, I have to say.
Yeah, well, you even see that on this next page where the Count says it's a declaration of war.
Yeah.
He's like, he starts squeezing the head. And this is proper kind of like 80s, early 90s, like, schlock of like, look how gruesome this is. But I still think it's a pretty cool panel of him squeezing the head.
Yeah.
And the eyes popping out.
I think
it reminds me of kind of very Evil Dead, very kind of those old kind of 80s horror movies or flicks.
I'd agree. You were talking about the eyes thing earlier. I think this is a good panel which shows like how detailed the eyes and stuff are.
Yeah, definitely. Like seeing them bulge out. And I like how obscured the Count's face here is, because it's a transition to say that he is a monster. Because before we saw him as kind of this fat bureaucrat, this fat leader. And now when his face is obscured, you literally see his eyes and his mouth. He looks a lot more demonic, which is, you know, it's a visual aid to the reader to say, yeah, this guy's an apostle, this guy is bad news, he is a monster, he is not human. We didn't need, like, a dialogue exposition explaining that. It's just a great visual aid to show that to us.
Mm-hmm.
And this next page we're introduced to, well, we don't know him yet, but Vargas, and I know you're a fan of Vargas. We were talking about this before we started the call. I like this panel of like Guts' shadow running through the town. It helps give the town some scale, because we could have just cut to this scene on the next page where Guts runs into the guards, but you see Guts running through this town. You see him running through kind of this area, and it makes it feel more lived in. He just doesn't teleport around to places. We know he has to travel from A to B somehow. And I like that about Berserk. It's a travel story. You know, people make fun of a boat, but I'd rather see a boat than they just teleport to Elfhelm. Yeah. I like seeing that journey and seeing what they encounter along the way. Again, I don't think the world building is good outside of Guts and Berserk, but we see his travels to these different places and how that influences his journey.
I think it makes you, I don't want to say appreciate bigger moments when they do stuff like that, and obviously I don't know fully how Berserk gets with this, but let's take like a One Piece into account. When you see stuff like that, when it comes back later on, I feel like it makes you appreciate stuff like that more when it does cover that stuff. But like, I'm assuming Berserk doesn't do that as much from the way you're talking. Like, it'll kind of be like, oh, here's Guts in this town, and this town will never come back. That's what I'm guessing.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Like, you see Guts go to a village invaded by trolls, and then he goes, and you don't hear about that town again, to my knowledge. I'm going to get about 50 comments now saying you do. But you do see stuff which comes back in a cool way. You know, like the Tower of Conviction, that's talked about quite often. Griffith's Kingdom is a good callback to elements from the Golden Age. So you do see stuff, but it's more stuff which is important to the main characters, which are Guts and Griffith. They are the protagonists of Berserk, and I know Griffith shouldn't be described as a protagonist, but it is. We follow his journey and we follow Guts. Yeah. It is what it is. He is a protagonist in that sense. He's an antagonist to Guts, just as like Guts is an antagonist to Griffith, even though Griffith doesn't really care about him. We're following these two's journey and how they intertwine eventually. I like the design of the armor of these knights when Guts stops them. Mm-hmm. I think they look pretty cool and detailed. Not much to say there. I think they're all drawn separately. Even like some of them look slightly, some of them are slightly different drawn, which I think is quite impressive. Miura didn't just clone them all; he actually drew all of them by hand, which is and some of them even have dents in their helmets, which others don't. If you can see that on this little spread.
Well, the one in the front, like more towards the left, like the first one you really see, he has a dent in his.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of see it shows how these armors are kind of worn down. No, it's a cool scene, and you know, Guts being a Chad, as you said earlier, he doesn't really give a shit about these people.
And then he just slices one in half, which is incredible. Well, two in half actually. That's a really good panel, by the way. Him slashing them in half. I have to say, very, very good panel. I also really like how his cape is drawn in that as well. It looks really cool.
Yeah. This panel, it's amazing. Before that, if you go back to the previous page, you see there's a small panel to the left where like the guard is holding his hand up, like what he's like kind of worried, he's like, what the fuck you doing? He's kind of like gesturing him to stay back. Which again is a really cool visual detail, kind of like adds more to the scene. It isn't just Guts. It is just Guts cutting these people down for a cool shot. Yeah. You kind of like see the guard's thought process visually. Like he's like, oh shit, like I'm gonna die because this guy isn't stopping. Yeah, but no, this shot is cool, as you said. The cape kind of like wrapping around the page. It's the perspective as well. It's kind of like shots like you see Guts take a step forward. You see like the impact of Guts swinging for Dragon Slayer, and even when he steps forward, you can see like the spark lines coming off his boot. You can tell it's a heavy step just to swing this thing. It's super cool.
I don't know why, because to give some context on this, when I wrote my notes for this is like right before we did, I think, chapter 2. Or maybe it was right after. And for some reason, past me, noticed that panel of the guards looking shocked when Guts was about to slice them in half, and I just put, when you realize you forgot to turn the oven off, and I wish I knew the context behind that now. I'm so confused. I
like your notes you did a year ago, no longer having any context.
It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. But, I'm not really skipping ahead, but after that page, there's a panel of Guts with the Dragon Slayer behind him after he just cut these guys down, looking really cool. And the context on this one, I put in my notes, it reminds me of, you know, the art of FF7 of Cloud looking up at the Shinra Tower.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean, actually. That's a good comparison.
No,
it's a super cool...
It's two guys, sword behind their back, looking cool. I mean...
Yeah, there you go. It's a super cool shot as well, and I think I've said this in our previous episodes. I prefer the way the Dragon Slayer's proportioned here. Because the Dragon Slayer is weird in later chapters. Like, I think Miura proportions it weirdly, kind of like after the early chapters. It either looks like really small or like ridiculously massive.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the Fantasia arc, which is later on. Guts is fighting against a monster called the Sea God. I won't spoil it. But there's a scene where he's in the water and he's holding his Dragon Slayer. He's surrounded by mermaids. It won't make sense out of context. And he's holding the Dragon Slayer. and it looks really tiny in that panel, which always struck me as weird. It's like a weird perspective thing. I do prefer how the Dragon Slayer was drawn in these chapters. It looks massive, but it kind of looks proportionally fine with guts.
Yeah. I really thought you were going to say he's in the water and he just decides to surf on it, but like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I will say, I do think since Chapter 1, you can tell Miura has gotten better about proportioning the Dragon Slayer, because especially, I think in 3 it's a lot better on showing the size of it, but in 4 as well it's also a lot better than how it was before.
Yeah.
I do have a question, and
yeah,
I know I just read Volume 1 last week, but maybe I'm just forgetting about this. Have they mentioned before in these chapters the whole, talking about the Dragon Slayer, it was much too big to be called a sword, massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Indeed, it was like a heap of raw iron. Was that mentioned in a chapter before this already? I'm pretty sure it was.
It was mentioned in chapter 1, I think. Was it chapter 2?
I know they mentioned it once, but I was like, one of the 100% sure
They have mentioned it once. I'm pretty sure it's chapter 1. It is chapter 1. Sorry, I don't even have to flick through. It's one. It's when Guts first cuts the Coca Castle goons in the bar. Puck says it.
Okay.
When he's in the cage, yeah.
I like that description of the Dragon Slayer a lot. I think it sells it even more, like, just how destructive this weapon is. Because, like, obviously, if you look at it, it's a gigantic sword. Like, it's obviously destructive. But that also adds into it the more they, I don't say always bring it up. Because after a while, you're like, alright, I'm getting tired of hearing that. But you bring it up every once in a while, and you're like, oh yeah, the Dragon Slayer is incredible. Like, how does this dude pick this up, you know?
I think they only describe it with this description one more time in this series in Lost Children, in the Lost Children chapters. I don't think they do it again after that. The Dragon Slayer has one of my favourite kind of weapon origins ever. We'll get to that when we do the Golden Age, but it's kind of funny, like why it was made. It does kind of suit kind of a weapon itself. One thing I do want to point out, which is quite funny. I'm not sure if that's what's happening here, but I also interpreted that. So, the body which is falling down, like the body which is cut in half, it looks like Guts is kicking it. Because you see like a little kind of like spark line, or a little kind of like hit spark on his boot. And it looks like he's kicking the body, which I've always assumed that was happening.
That would be awesome.
Just to intimidate them. And you see that in this next panel as well. You see when Guts is chopping them down, you see like a surprised hit spark above that guy's head.
Yeah.
When Guts leaps forward, like, oh shit, you see them above like all their heads apart from one on the far left actually.
They're like,
and they're like, oh shit, this is happening. I'm gonna die.
I do like the panels of Guts, like just kind of mowing through these guys. They are a bit more like gory, but like the panel over Guts clearly cuts the guy's like part of his face off. And you're just like, oh, he's sitting there like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah. I left the oven on. I love the bit before that where the guy tries to block with his sword, and you see like a translucent kind of like still of a Dragon Slayer cutting through, and he's noticing it.
Yeah. He's just like, oh,
and it just chops it in half.
It's a good. It's about like kind of selling the Dragon Slayer and stuff, but when you see stuff like that, it's like no normal weapon's gonna be able to block this thing. Like no random just like rinky-dink sword can block the Dragon Slayer. You're gonna have to have something, a bigger Dragon Slayer, you know, to block it. I guess bigger weapon.
I need an even bigger sword.
But it is a really good few panels of them going through it. I also like to skip ahead a tiny bit when you see the guys. I don't know if I can call them archers, because I don't know if people who shoot crossbows are considered archers. But they're getting ready to try and shoot at Guts, and they actually make Puck useful, and he comes in and like shines his little elf light and blinds them. I do like that. I like when they do that stuff, because like I know Puck can't go fight an apostle. That would be impossible to do, I think. He may. I don't know if that's going to surprise me later on, but
he doesn't fight apostles. He has fought little spirits and like beaten them.
I'll take that.
Like very, very little ones.
I don't want to see like a full-on like Puck fight, you know. But like I like when Puck tries to get involved and help. I don't want Puck just to be like not a damsel in distress, but like be more of an inconvenience, I guess. And that's kind of, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I want Puck to at least try to do his own thing and still help out, but I don't know. Is the light thing something you can spoil this for me? Is that something he does a lot, or is this a one-time thing? That's what he does.
No, he does it quite a few times, if I recall. I think he does it in Conviction. Yeah, he does it. He does it in Lost Children specifically. There's a part where Guts is fighting against he's fighting against some goons which have kidnapped Jill, this little girl, and I think he does it to these goons. He uses the Puck Spark to blind them, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, so it's not a one-time thing, it does come back.
Oh.
I like the panel where Puck gets caught by one of the guards. I like how expressive he looks.
I left the oven on.
Yeah.
I do like when the guy
I like Guts' reaction where Guts is like, "You're still here," like, for fuck's sake.
That is a good part. I think as the chapters are going on, I'm starting to like Puck more. I know you say he gets worse, and I do believe that, but I'm starting to warm up to Puck for now. And I like the banter between him
Puck's
and
good
Guts.
for a long while. Puck's good until, I want to say, after Convictions, the beginning of Fantasia. So that's quite a way in the series. I want to say at least 200 chapters or so. So you've got a lot of good Puck. It's just they run out of kind of things to do with him, which is unfortunate.
But I do like when the guy does catch Puck and Guts just cuts his hands off.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, yeah, now we're even. Get over it, loser.
Yeah. See you later, freak. I do like this next page with Zondark. The size difference, because Guts is like a massive man. The guidebook said he was 6'8", but I don't believe that.
No.
I think Guts is a very tall man.
Yeah.
He's not 6'8". He's 6 foot. He's probably 6'3", 6'4". I don't believe he's 6'8" for a second. That guidebook is stupid. So you have Guts here, fighting against Zondark, this massive beast of a man. And I like how unimpressed Guts looks with him.
I really like Zondark's design, I will say. He's like a legit... I brought up earlier how the Count is kind of the more like... he's intimidating because you know like he's done some shady stuff. And I like that compared to like the normal just like brute kind of guy. But like Zondark, just his design alone, he's a really intimidating looking character.
But I think that's what makes Guts a lot more cool, because like to the reader, like he eclipses Guts.
Yeah.
He's looking down on him. Like, I think that mask helps a lot as well. It hides his expressions because you don't see a human face behind it. You see a mask which is like designed just to look default and flat. It's kind of like a default face, like looking down at him, just like pathetic, like that fucking Evangelion meme. Just looking down at him, just like, yeah, that's quite a sword you got there, little man. Just like, I'm looking down on you, you're beneath me. And seeing Guts not care about that at all just shows you like how confident Guts is with himself and how powerful we've seen Guts be. We know this wouldn't be a problem for him, even if he's a lot bigger than Guts is.
Yeah.
I do like Zondark's weapon of choice as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I like, I'm pretty sure it's a Warhammer. I'm pretty sure
it is. Yeah, Zondark says it.
I'm a big fan of the Warhammer weapon. I don't know what it is, I really like that weapon a lot. But
you'll like a few characters in this series, then a lot of them use Warhammers.
They're cool. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It sounds weird. I think I like the name of it alone, the Warhammer. It's just something, it's just a badass sounding weapon name. It's a really random thing I know to state, but it's just cool. And I think it's just more because like a big like brute dude like Zondark has it. It's just something you would see probably like in an MMO or something. It just sells it for me. And I think like people have to wield those like stronger weapons typically have more of like I guess, an aura of them. I brought that up before. When you see that panel of him, he definitely has like an aura around him, which makes it better because Guts is just gonna destroy him, which makes Guts cooler.
Yeah.
So
it's the classic kind of like underdog story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Berserk isn't new doing this, but every time a series does it, I love it because I love seeing like the small fry beat the big intimidating dude.
Yeah.
Especially with ease here because Zondark's just a nobody. Yeah, because even like he see, let's see how that your sword fares. I kind of like this is a very 80s manga thing. You know, Guts' eyes being shaded out.
Mm-hmm.
That was something which, you know, JoJo does it. Fist of a North Star does it. It's a very kind of 80s cool guy thing to do in manga. They shade out the eyes like, oh, I'm getting serious now.
Yeah.
But it's still cool to see.
Just a question I had about this, and I might be wrong on this, but I'm starting to catch on to the whole, like, you say movement in the manga and stuff now. It's something I've never thought about now till you brought that up. To me, it looks like in the panel, he sits his Warhammer on the Dragon Slayer, and Guts moves it back, and it's just like his Warhammer just falls to the ground and, like, crushes it. And I really like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, because that's kind of a cool guy moment. He's just kind of like shifting out of the way, like, no, you don't. And, like,
not today,
the impact of him swinging down, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I like he has his little hype men around him watching, and then Puck's just like trying not to get crushed to death. And the rumbling.
Talking about the hype men, I like in the page after when he swings it and clearly hits his own hype men and kills some of them.
Yeah. Like going through his skull. And yeah, he's just killing a ton of them.
I do like this little fight that Guts and Zondark have. It's very short, but I think it, like I kept saying before, it hypes up Guts even more because you see, like, oh my god, he's fighting this gigantic man with a really cool warhammer, and he's not intimidated. He's just like, you know, whatever. And he's not like, and Zondark mentions where he's like, you know, he gets him stuck to a wall, and he is like, you know, where are you going? You got nowhere left to run. And Guts is clearly not hiding. He's just kind of dodging and trying to think tactfully. And then, spoilers, I get, what spoilers, cutting a bit ahead, he fucks him up, you know?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, they test for strength against their weapons, and unsurprisingly, Guts comes out on top. Just before that, like, it's a random tangent, but I don't know what the series' obsession is with, big, strong, powerful men smashing walls behind Guts.
Mm-hmm.
Not men, just apostles or demons, but just, like, strong characters, because, like, it happens in the first chapter, the snake apostle throws Guts through a wall. It happens here, and then it happens in the Golden Age where Guts gets the Dragon Slayer. It's just an observation I've noticed. So if we turn the page, my manga wouldn't get stuck. One thing I do like Miura's drawings with his next page, where like Zondark is saying it's nothing more than baggage and holding up his warhammer. He looks really weird.
Yeah.
He's like, we were talking about proportions here and how they were good, and then this like panel, he looks like really fucked up and weird.
He looks
like, it looks like his proportions don't match up.
He looks kind of like fattish in this one because the armor, how the armor's shaped is really what it is. I like the panel under that where Guts, you can tell he gets like kind of pissed, like that really pissed look in his face, and he swings a Dragon Slayer at him.
Yeah, it's a mix of piss and just like him concentrating and getting serious. It's like, okay, because like Zondark was kind of shit talking him, saying, you know, it's nothing more than baggage. Why do you have such a big weapon if you can't handle it? And Guts was like, I'll show you what I can do with this thing.
Then he slings it at him and throws a bunch of rocks in his face, which I really like.
And it's just the timing of it, like you say, you're noticing more and more of emotion, and this next page here, where Guts swings it just as Zondark is, like, swinging down at Guts, and, like, the way they connect, and you see them connect.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool looking. And even little things, you, like, see the speed lines, you see, like, the chain of a Dragon Slayer go in the direction where Guts is swinging, so it's going to the right because of the force, so he's swinging it, and the chain of a Dragon Slayer is, like, going along with that movement. It's really cool. You see that on the previous page as well, where Guts is getting ready to swing. It's going to the left on the panel after he's getting serious. you kind of see the chain move with the Dragon Slayer, which it's a little thing, but it's really cool. What did you think of this page where Zondok's mask gets broken and his weapon gets broken with the shrapnel of the impact?
I really like it. I like how I guess like with the, I guess it's the sound effects. I guess with the little bubble-looking words are. I guess I'm trying to say. I like that because it kind of adds to the force of the motion with everything coming in, like with the. I guess it's bricks, rock, whatever, coming in and hitting him, and destroys his weapon. It makes it. I think it just makes Zondok look like such a punk. Like he just gets beat by this Chad Guts, and I don't know. I really like it.
And it honestly looks like something which is animated. Like I'm seeing this panel of him breaking it, and it's like I can almost see it move, which seems like a bit over the top, but like it's really cool looking. And I'm just imagining like this moving off the page. I'm like seeing this animated in my head where he slams down, and it's kind of like a slow motion shot of like the shrapnel of his weapon like breaking apart slowly and his mask falling off. It's super cool.
It's panels
and I kind of like the clean cut in half as well.
It's panels like this that make me wish we did get that Dream Berserk anime, because this would be a cool fight to see like animated.
Give it another 20 years. People think we're going to get a Berserk anime this soon are crazy. Like, the last Berserk anime we got was only 4 years ago.
I think if we get it, it'll be at least, like, 2025, if even that.
I think 10 years. I'm going to say later. I don't think we'll be getting it for years.
We'll still be... we'll be on Chapter 5 by that point.
I like this panel of... you know, the shrapnel kind of like digging into Zondok's skin. You can see it bleeding slowly.
I like the little panel of Guts with his fingers in his mouth, like he's so into it. Like that's me seeing Zondok get messed up.
Yeah, and I like when Guts is stepping on his face, and he's like, couldn't agree more. It's like he wasn't taking this seriously the whole fucking time. Yeah.
Zondok's sitting on the floor, crying, and then Guts just boots him in the face, which is even better.
I think Zondok's an interesting character for this reason, because like we see this later on in the chapter in Chapter 4. He's someone you see like the effect of someone meeting Guts, kind of like Guts is a legend. Like he is human, like his strength is being human, but he's an extraordinary human.
Yeah.
Like, still being a strong guy, but, like, running into Guts and him just decimating you, and how that would affect you if you are proud and headstrong like that, and how it can change you. I wish we could have seen more stuff like that in the series. We do see it quite a bit, but I do like it with Zondok, just seeing him get humiliated, and, like, he doesn't have an arc, but you kind of, like, I like seeing him pop back up in, like, subsequent chapters.
Yeah.
In this Guardians of Desire mini-arc.
He could have been a nice little, like, I don't want to say a rival for Guts, because Guts would have destroyed him, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, occasionally he fights Guts or something, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And, I love a visceral shot on this page after where Guts boots him in the face.
You just posted cringe, boot to the face.
Yeah, bro, you just posted cringe. You're gonna lose subscriber. Zondok's got that drip meme going on.
You know, if you could do the Zondok one with the drip, that would be pretty good.
I'm waiting for, like, that's going to be the thumbnail of this episode. But I want, like, the perfect character and the perfect, like, kind of setting to do it.
I get that.
The drip meme. But, like, Zondok would be a good candidate. And we see, I don't know, I really like Vargas's kind of body shape with his cloak. It makes him look like way more mystical and kind of like medieval in a way, kind of like medieval fantasy the way he looks.
Yeah, he looks kind of like a wizard, like especially like when he has the shadow on him, where it's the paint off like just the dots.
Yeah.
He looks very mystical. I don't know. And I like his little. I'm assuming it's a smoke bomb he throws out. That's what I took from it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it doesn't really look that clear in like the little panel where they're flying through the air. But as they land, it does. I do like the panel where like you see the guards running through the tunnel after Guts. Like, the perspective isn't great. That's just me nitpicking. But you know, it's is once again is telling a story. It's, you know, you can really see like more people are after him. It's not just teleporting characters around, which a lot of stories do. Yeah, so you see the smoke bomb come off, and then, you know, Zondark, not Zondark, fucking hell. Zondark's become Vargas for some reason. And they make their escape. I do like this panel, I'm not sure about you, of like Zondark's kind of messed up face telling them to like kill them.
Yeah. I guess, can I say something about Chapter 4 without really spoiling anything?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I appreciate this panel a lot more after reading Chapter 4, is all I will say about that, and I'll just kind of leave it there. But I like that a lot. And, like, I like the page after, which shows the town. I really like that. That's a really good artwork.
Yeah, it is. Again, it's telling the story and it's giving more context to this town. I kind of like, you see how the citizens live in this town. You know, we saw the beginning of a chapter. You know, the Count vows his 5th execution of a heretic in a month. And you see people looking out the windows and closing their windows. And, you know, Puck takes notice of it. And even Vargas says, you know, you never know who's going to be accused of something. And that's something which comes back up in Conviction. Berserk takes like a really interesting religious angle in the series. I'd say Berserk is pro-faith but anti-established religion. From what I read of Miura's stuff, like, I'd say he's pro-believing in something, very anti the establishments which rise from religion. There's a faction called the Holy See, you'll see from the Conviction arc onwards, who kind of fit that blanket of like, these people are awful.
So what you're saying is Miura is a rebel with a cause.
Yeah, Miura wears a fedora and tips it.
While playing, is it Miura who plays Idolmaster, or is that the dude who writes Hunter x Hunter?
Right, no, it's Miura who plays Idolmaster.
Okay.
That was like basically an interview like he did like years ago, where he'd like offhand, like, this was literally a sentence where he says, "I'm playing my Idolmaster for the Xbox 360. I'm enjoying it." I think that's all he said.
I just like I like the idea of Miura, a guy who writes Berserk, a really kind of gory series, playing Idolmaster. It's too good.
A lot of them are like that, though.
Yeah.
I can't believe his name's fucking escaped me. Oh my god, he's like famous. Like, I can't believe it. I'm gonna have to Google his name. I feel ashamed.
What's the series he writes on?
Junji Ito. How could I forget his name? I was gonna say Itoi for some reason. That's someone else. Junji Ito. Uzumaki. He's done tons of horror mangas, tons of famous horror mangas. I've read a few. He if you see him in real life, he's just like a sweetheart. He just talks about how much he loves his cats. A lot of horror and like violent mangakas in general. I like that.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting to think about. You see, pictures of Miura even, like, he's like a friendly little dude with glasses. You see him, he doesn't look like a scary guy. He looks quite friendly.
Yeah.
I'd want to have a drink with him.
Oh, it's like bringing up. It's like how like Isayama says like whenever he finishes Attack on Titan, he just wants to like work on like opening up like a spa, and it's like that's so random, but it's funny though.
I like again, I like seeing the journey which Guts is taking from going through the town to Vargas's place again. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I'm glad they're making that journey, because they could have easily just teleported to Vargas's lab. But you kind of see like a narrative, and it explains more about the town they're in. Like, why aren't there any people on the street? And Vargas says, well, everyone's suspicious, everyone's going to stay at home, you're going to be in the street, you're going to be accused of being a heretic. It's kind of like highlighting kind of this empty, kind of like dark town, and even travelling through it can be a danger, even if there's no one in it. I love the detail in his lab. I'm not sure if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I really like the art on this. It looks really good. I think any panel or Miura definitely does like it. I like the shading on it. I think that's really what it is. It looks very good.
Yeah, I like seeing all the skulls. I think there's a dog skeleton, different various types of skulls. It's pretty cool. I like it kind of like his contraptions as well. I like the perspective as well. You see Guts kind of having to duck in through the door to get in, which is quite like a nice detail because the door's so small. Vargas is only a little man. I do like details like that. On this next page, I kind of like Guts and Puck investigating the lab. For some reason, fucked up Vargas has a little elf in a jar. I don't know where he got that from.
I think Puck likes it, oddly enough. Like, I like stuff like that. I think that's probably Guts' like best moments when it's like small stuff like that.
I do like Guts and Puck's relationship quite a lot. In early chapters, they do bounce off each other quite well.
Mm-hmm.
I do like reaction shots where like Puck is fainting at the sight of a female elf, and Guts is just looking at him.
He's just like, you're an idiot.
Yeah. It's interesting though, like thinking about that kind of thing, because most of the stuff Vargas has is like, for some reason he has a fucking baby fetus in a jar. Weird, but like, you know, he has various babies. Looks like normal kind of animals and normal human things, but then he has a fairy, which is like a magical being in Berserk, or an elf, sorry. So I mean, this is when we were so early in the series. I think he just wanted to draw a weird lab man having weird lab things.
Well, Guts even brings up like, he's like, I'm supposed if somebody were to accuse you of being a heretic, you'd have a hard time explaining this. That would for sure be something to get him killed. Maybe something like this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, like, we were talking about how we like Vargas, but then, like, you know,
he's a weird dude.
How did he acquire all this shit?
Yeah.
Does he just collect baby fetuses for fun?
And it's even going into his backstory even more. I'd wonder that as well, because I'll bring it up when we get learn more about Vargas, but still, it's kind of weird.
I like... This always makes me laugh. I'm on this next page where Guts fucking kicks his walking stick down.
I like that too. Guts is Chad, I'm telling you. He doesn't care. He just sees, we kind of had a hint of this already, we'll see more of it later on, obviously. But, like, Guts hates weak people, and Vargas is a weak dude. He has to use the cane, so Guts is just like, kicks the cane, start talking.
Yeah. Guts hating weak people, like, it's kind of like just a face he puts on. Like, obviously, like, it's something he uses to cope because he feels like, you know, he wasn't strong enough to save a band of Hawk. But, like, even here, like, where he kicks Vargas, like, Guts isn't stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Guts presents himself as, like, a very kind of strong, you know, physically strong, and that's not associated with being smart, usually. But Guts isn't stupid. Like, the reason he kicks, Vargas' walking stick down because he can kind of tell what he's trying to say or trying to do. Vargas asks, like, do you have some sort of grudge? Is it for revenge? Like, look at the glee in his eyes. Like, Vargas thinks, like, Guts is going to do him a favour. Like, you know, kill him for me, which Vargas says later on, and Guts is like, you fucking bring me here to get me to do something for you. Like, I'm on my own mission. Like, the audacity of this bitch. Even.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even Guts says, I'm the one who's asking the questions, not you. Why bring me here just to interrogate me? And this next page where you see Vargas' bandages unravel after Guts kicks him down. I don't know what you think about his face, but it's pretty creepy looking.
I don't know, he's a handsome young man, I think.
Yeah.
I'd like to take him on a date. No. He's definitely got a really messed up face. And I like that it goes into, like, it kind of goes into detail, like, why he's like that. Tell me, like, how the Count, like, cut him up into little pieces and stuff and then ate part of his face, which is disgusting, but he brings up, like, you know, he's a demon. Like, he's not a good dude. Like, I mean, you know already, but I think seeing this adds more to the... I don't say reason you dislike the Count, but it makes him seem like more of a threat, and you have more reason to dislike him.
Yeah, well, just like a pure monster, right? Because, like, you see the effects of what he's done to someone still living.
Yeah.
Like, it's something you don't really see in these kind of stories in this much detail. Like, you know, people getting decapitated, you know, that's part of the course. But then when you see the, I was going to say Hank Hill.
Whoa!
The Count's face, when it's obscured, and he crushes that poor girl's skull.
Yeah.
That's the first time I was like, oh, okay. This isn't your normal. This isn't your daddy's execution or your grandfather's execution. This is the new kid's fucked up Berserk execution. And seeing like how much detail Miura's put into Vargas's face being all fucked up is like, this is what demons are. This is what they can do.
Yeah.
They're you know, they're awful. It's awful. And I kind of like the correlation and comparison with Guts, because, you know, Vargas is someone else who's lost body parts. He's lost part of himself to an apostle, much like Guts. And I think Guts can relate with that somewhat. Because even when he sees Vargas's body, he's alarmed by it. Like, he's looking at it disgusted. And it probably is a disgusting sight, but because Guts has seen firsthand what these demons can do, and this is what they do, they destroy humans, they're imbued with evil energy. And, and even Vargas is like, you don't believe my story, and Guts is like, well, I've seen it before, bitch.
Yeah. I don't know, and I put this in my notes, and seeing this again, I made me think of it again. Have you ever seen the, Twilight Zone episode where that lady's in the hospital has, like, the bandages on her face?
No, I haven't, actually.
So, the main plot of that episode, it's like, there's a woman in the hospital, and she thinks she's, like, a really ugly person. She has bandages on her face. I don't care to spoil. Twilight Zone's a really old show. If you haven't seen it by now, you'll get it.
You should have.
So at the end of the episode, she takes the bandages off, and it gets revealed that, like, she has a normal-looking face for us, but everyone else has, like, pig-like faces. And seeing his face, and then it reminded me of that. And I know this isn't really proving a point to anything, but I thought it was interesting to bring up because it just made me think of that. That's one of the best episodes of the show. But
that does sound interesting, actually.
It's a really good episode.
And like you see a close up of Vargas's face, like when he's wheezing. Like you can see more of his nose being missing and his eye completely gone, just for skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, and the thing is, you never see Vargas being eaten. Like you see silhouettes of the Count kind of like eating his family in the next chapter, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
You see how the Count eats his family, but I think this is like a rare moment of like telling is better than showing.
Yeah.
Because like we do see the horrors of like what the Count did, and Vargas said he did it. Like we see that, but we don't see how the Count did it. We just see Vargas tell us he did it, and that makes it all the more worse because we imagine like we see how fucked up Vargas looks, like how awful this must have been, and we never see how the Count does it. We don't see him peel off, you know, the individual layers of his skin and eat them, to show how evil and demonic this man is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're getting to the end of this chapter now. I'm always a fan of secret doorways. I like the secret doorway being like this massive kind of what I assume is like a fish skeleton mouth. That's what I've already assumed it to be.
I love the secret doorway, but I think what makes it even better is if you have a moving bookcase in front of it. I don't know what it is, just
it's always cool. It has to have a moving bookcase. That's the best. Always the best. Guts is doing the cool guy 80 shaded eyes again. I do like this panel before like the final 2 pages where Vargas's face is exposed apart from one eye.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes him look kind of creepy and demonic in a way.
Yeah.
And you know, the light shining on something that the viewer can't see, the reader can't see yet till they turn the page. And the way Vargas is exposed, it makes it all the more kind of interesting to see.
It hypes up whatever's going to be on the next page, I think, is also a good thing. Yeah,
exactly. And we see here, this was a really cool scene when I first read it. It probably would have been like, I think this would have been one of the scenes where if you read the Golden Age first or seen it, I read Berserk in order. I never saw the anime till after I read Berserk. So when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's weird looking. But like, you see Guts react to this thing.
Yeah.
And like, he's sweating, he's shocked. You see him give it like a dead-eye stare at it, like kind of a shocked stare. In like one of the panels before the final page of the Bailet. He's staring with like complete shock and horror and awe in a way. Kind of like, I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Miura could just communicate that with this panel. You can see it looks like he's biting his lip as well. You see him kind of bite his top lip or bite his bottom lip even. And his mouth's like slightly, it's kind of like he's almost like panicking seeing this thing. There's a lot you can distinguish from his face here, and I think it's really cool.
You brought up the how you read it in chronological order. Well, since like I watched the 97 anime first, I did not know this happened in this chapter. So, knowing what I know, this is the first chapter. Like, I've enjoyed chapters 1 and 2, and like I want to read more Berserk, but this has been the first chapter I was like, oh my god, I need to know what happens next chapter, because I didn't know this was, I assumed this is something that would show up later on in the series, not chapter 3. I thought it'd be something more like after Golden Age he'll find, because I know Guts eventually gets one, like has one, but I assumed that was like after Golden Age when that happened. I did not know it was this soon in the manga, so I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was here, and he still has it. Like, this has been like a 30-year kind of like theory, a 30-year thing of the making. What is this Bailet? When is it going to activate? Because Guts still has it. He carries it around in his little man purse at all times.
His little man purse.
But no, yeah, it's cool. I do like the final panel where he kind of like says a Bailet. Like, it does look like his face is really wide, because it looks like the shading's part of his face here. But I do kind of just like the attention is on nothing else. There's not even a background here.
Yeah.
It's just on Guts' face. The thing you need to be paying attention to is nothing else but Guts' reaction to this thing. Even not knowing because I read this in release order from Black Swordsman to Golden Age. I didn't know what a Bailet was. This is my first time seeing it. But seeing Guts' reaction to it, and that just being the focusing shot here, I'm like, he's run into this thing before, it's bad news.
Yeah.
And even then it hyped me to see more, and I think the Bailet is probably the most detailed thing in this chapter.
I would agree
the
on
way
that.
it's drawn, and how creepy looking it is. It's a super cool way to end this chapter, before we get to chapter 4. So what did you think of this chapter overall then?
It's probably one of... I don't want to say it's my favorite chapter, because I did like chapter 2. I just kind of liked how it was its own thing personally, but I still really like this chapter a lot. It's more of a setup chapter which is the first part of like a short arc, which I understand. I really, I like Zondark. I don't know why, but I really like him a lot, oddly enough. I thought the art in this chapter was really good. A lot of really good panels. And we got earlier, like I think this chapter is really a lot better with the whole motion and action. I guess what I'm going to call that now. I think it's more the probably first chapter I really picked up on it more. And I think it got a good blend of... The Puck stuff is really good, surprisingly. I keep warming up to Puck as I'm reading more of this. I'm going to be sad eventually when he gets worse. But I really like this chapter, and it's a really good cliffhanger. I know I told you this before, but in my notes, I wrote down, Philip is a whore, ending the podcast with this as a cliffhanger. Now I have to wait until next time to record to find out more.
Yeah, you can't.
Which I already have read chapter 4, but still.
Yeah. We'll do this sooner than a year this time. I promise.
You may get it by July.
I know. Yeah. I'll do it this time. So if you turn the page, like this is kind of the beginning of the next chapter, but you know you can see that page for the next chapter where you see Guts kind of like crouching down with the bandage around his eye.
I don't have that because I'm reading the regular volumes, not the deluxe ones.
Oh, damn it.
Because for me, it's the stop. This is the back of the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's just super cool. We'll talk about that next time. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening, not watching, I guess, because this is going to be a still image. People have been saying we should like put the manga pages on, which is a good idea, but this is a podcast and not a video, and I'm too lazy to do that. So
I think what you could do, so you could benefit, you could help yourself by not doing a ton of work, but you could still help them out. Is, I guess, if it's on a panel we're really talking a lot about, just kind of throw that up for like a 30-second thing. Because I don't know if you want to throw the whole thing up just due to copyright stuff as well.
Oh no, that's not. I use manga panels in all my videos.
Well, I mean more.
It's not concerned.
I mean more like just putting the whole chapter up's more what I meant. Sorry.
I mean, I do that anyway. I've done that
true.
with. I've done that with plenty of videos. I don't think they get copyrighted, luckily. It's usually anime clips. I did like a Rickert video which had an anime clip which got copyrighted. I usually escape it quite well, copyright, which is good. But yeah, I guess we'll join you. You'll join us, or we'll join you. We'll join hands and sing about Vargas's drip, which I still need to find. Oh, I thought of it. I'll show you. I'll tell you after we finish this call, not to spoil the viewer. Spoil the thumbnail surprise. But thanks everyone for listening, and I guess we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. Bye.
And